Hey there folks, I'm Mark in affiliation with Spectrum Pulse, and it's Billboard Breakdown. I don't remember. You know, if this was 2 years ago, a week like this would have been excruciating. 24 new songs on the Hot 100, the results of 2 album bombs that wreaked havoc across the chart, one from an album that I already reviewed and I didn't like, and the other from a project that also sparked a lot of messy conversation. It would be draining to say the least. But since my album bomb rules are in effect, I'm covering the best and worst, plus the songs that broke into the top 40, makes this week a little bit easier. Thank God for that. Now, of course, when you look at our top 10, you might question how much impact these album bombs really had, especially in comparison with those in the past from artists like Ariana Grande and Drake, because The Box by Roddy Ricch just has nothing to worry about yet again at number 1, thanks to ruling streaming, consistent sales, and real radio pickups. Seriously, the margins are just massive here. Now, this means the bigger threat might be to Life is Good by Future featuring Drake at number 2, because while it's not that far behind on the radio, it just can't rack up the same numbers on streaming, and the sales are just collapsing this week altogether. But this leads us to the first real evidence of the album bomb. At number 3, Godzilla by Eminem featuring the late Juice WRLD. Now, like with every song driven off of posthumous attention, it likely will not last long, as the radio's not touching this and great sales will inevitably collapse. But that's streaming, that YouTube, genuinely remarkable. Hell, blew right past Circles by Post Malone down at number 4, as it looks like radio hit a peak and it started to slip slightly in other categories, which might just as well be true about Memories by Maroon 5 at number 5, as the airplane meanders and the sales have started to fall off rather sharply. Now on the other side, we got 10,000 Hours by Dan and Shay and Justin Bieber rebounding to number 6, which you would think would fall off given many of the same symptoms, which thankfully don't seem to be true for Dance Monkey by Tones and I up to number 7, which has better sales and streaming and is finally starting to narrow that radio margin, but it's more because of the long-awaited collapse of Someone You Love by Lewis Capaldi, slipping down to number 8 as the radio is an outright freefall, and that's the majority of what it had. Now to round things out, Roxanne by Arizona Zervas held on at number 9, rough sales week offset by good radio growth, which might as well hold similar for Lose You to Love Me by Selena Gomez, slipping down to number 10 as her album boost faded and her streaming kind of collapsed, but the radio was really good for her. But now we got our losers and dropouts, and the part of every album bomb week that always remains immensely frustrating for me, most because of the work. A full quarter of the chart got pushed down. So let's start off with the songs that are outright forced off for good. On Chill by Wale featuring Jeremiah, Talk by Khalid, What If I Never Get Over You by Lady Antebellum, Lover by Taylor Swift, Playing Games by Summer Walker, Heat by Chris Brown featuring Gunna, Remember You Young by Thomas Rhett, Leave 'Em Alone by Leighton Green, Lil Baby, City Girls, and PNB Rock, and possibly even Nice to Meet Ya by Niall Horan and Camelot by Annalie Chapa. But now onto our list of our losers proper. Well, we got the songs that are continuing to collapse, like Hot by Young Thug featuring Gunna at 42, Truth Hurts by Lizzo at 43, Futsal Shuffle 2020 by Lil Uzi Vert at 59, and Out West by Jack Boys featuring Young Thug, as well as the badly timed debuts like Some to Prove by Lil Baby falling down to 33, and Rare by Selena Gomez collapsing to 81. Then we had the gains that were utterly decimated, with Say So by Doja Cat going to 92, and Make No Sense by Youngboy Never Broke Again at 98. Although he didn't have a good week overall, with The Bandit by Juice WRLD also falling down to 47. Then from there, it's all over the place, folks. Panini by Lil Nas X at 39, One Man Band by Old Dominion at 46, Toes and Vibes by DaBaby at 65 and 69 respectively, Heart on Ice by Rod Wave down at 72, Start With Me by Roddy Ricch and Gunna at 74, No Idea by Don Toliver at 77, Sugar by Brockhampton at 78, Don't Worry, Should Rebound, Best on Earth by Russ and Bia at 79, You Played by Moneybagg Yo featuring Lil Baby at 82, Take What You Want by Post Malone, Travis Scott, and Ozzy Osbourne at 94, and Easy by Danny Lee and Chris Brown at 99. And to round out everything else, our country losses, with More Hearts Than Mine down at 86 by Ingrid Indress, I Wish Grandpa's Never Died by Riley Green at 87, Make Me Want To by Jimmy Allen at 88, What She Wants Tonight by Luke Bryan at 90, Wheatback by Jason Aldean at 95, and I Hope You're Happy Now by Carly Pearce and Lee Bryce at 97. Now the flip side to album bomb weeks is that we don't normally really see that many gains and returns, and that's true here too. Nobody But You by Blake Shelton and Gwen Stefani returned at 76 because of the video, and the only gains are Blinding Lights by The Weeknd finally getting the proper push up to 21, and Tusa by Karol G and Nicki Minaj of all things continuing up to 55, because out of nowhere it picked up both streaming and radio. Why? Nobody knows. But now on for the album bomb entries that are not getting coverage this week proper, because Halsey couldn't crack any new arrivals. Again, kind of disconcerting for a long term, even if I called this. From Mac Miller, they are That's On Me at 100, Surf at 91, Everybody at 80, Woods at 75, I Can See at 68, Complicated at 63, and Circles at 48. And in the larger, more frustrating story, from Eminem, we got Stepdad at 93, Lock It Up featuring Anderson .Paak at 89, about time he got here, shame it's not on a better song. No Regrets with Don Toliver at 84, In Too Deep at 71, Premonition at 67, Leaving Heaven featuring Skylar Grey at 61, and You Gon' Learn with Royce the 5'9" at 52. But now, onto our reasonable list of new arrivals. At number 83, Marsh by Eminem.
It's on my chest, Superman, like it's plural. Call me extra, terrestrial.
So yeah, this is fucking terrible. The one-dimensional piano off the badly mixed clunker of the beat, how he thinks his toilet is now talking to him and describing a girl's vagina as a tarantula, how he can out-rap Reynolds, how he has to explain the puff on a joint line, the ugly Trippie Redd implication, the Beavis and Butthead lines after the dropping shit line because he's got butterfingers, the get dough like Ed Sheeran, so call me the gingerbread man, and let's not forget how the entire song is structured around an asinine conflation of Marsh in his name to both wetlands and Martians. All around ugly auto-tuned ad-libs that you think for as much as he's gonna crap on the current generation, he would avoid this. I'm not even sure the fans of this album like this turd, so yeah, let's just move on. Number 64, Hand-Me-Downs by Mac Miller.
Remind me, shit, I need to stay in line.
So here's the song I probably like the most of the Mac Miller songs I've heard thus far from Circles, mostly thanks to the gentle acoustics and the watery touches off the spare drums and bass that opened up Barosura's hook. And yeah, I know it sounds a little crass, but juxtaposed against Mac Miller's singing, Barosura is a lot more potent, especially when Mac slips into a rap flow that just sounds more comfortable for him on the second verse, as he confesses his love that helps him pull away from self-destructive tendencies in which he's probably gotten a little bit too comfortable running right up to the edge. And yeah, I'm not really crazy about the double entendre pun on the hook, kind of pulls you out of the song a bit, as does that wheedling sound throughout the outro, but it is probably the cut from the album that clicks most for me, and outside of maybe Good News, I can hear the longest appeal. So yeah, you know what? Good song. Check it out. Number 58, Pussy Fairy on the Way by Jhene Aiko.
Boy, when I buzz it wide, I hypnotize you with this pussy.
I mean, if there's a way to get attention to that next album, whenever it drops, calling a single Pussy Fairy would certainly do it. And unlike most of Jhene's recent songs, it actually has more of a pulse with some well-blended skittering trap percussion that somehow still sounds pretty organic amidst all the liquid guitar and piano tones and a lot of her gentle cooing. Now, for as good as all that is, let's not deny that Jhene is quietly just as toxic as many of the men she flirts with. I mean, I like my free time, sometimes I need that. But I can also say that the loose glamours that she weaves are a lot more appealing to make comfortable with all that hypnotism. It's a sex song that doesn't need to sound dark or forbidding so much as actually sounding fun. And Jhene's got such a knack for playful charisma that its flagrant horniness on main winds up just kind of sweet. Yeah, you know what? I am an easy mark for this sort of thing, but this is the sort of R&B I can really get behind. In more ways than one. Number 57, Black Swan by BTS. So I guess BTS has attained enough cultural penetration in the United States that we're gonna get consistent charting singles from them, even if they don't last too long once the sales fall away. Well, while I liked Boy in Love, Black Swan is not nearly as fun. Most because somebody told the boys that a murky trap groove with oily layers of keyboard and off-key guitars would fit them, and that person was wrong. Sure, it's more tonally consistent, but the autotune tacked on leeches away some of their unique personality and kills any sort of build-up or punch. And while it might match the subject matter of the song and highlighting the dreary bleakness of stopping that dance, and it could almost represent death, beyond baiting the fan base with that, what's the deeper appeal? It's not fun, and while it's not the worst of the K-pop I've heard recently, I've got zero incentive to hear more of this. Number 38, Blue World by Mac Miller.
Might just turn around to 180. I ain't politicking, I ain't kissing no babies.
Man, I'm really trying to like what I'm hearing from this posthumous Mac Miller album, but without the emotional connection to gravitate towards the heartfelt core of the writing, I go into a track like this with its dubstep adjacent glassy warps and low buzz off the spare percussion and slurred over vocals, and it just doesn't resonate with me whatsoever. I guess I can appreciate the general relaxed nature of the writing as he meanders through a lethargic and wistful moment together driving with this girl, heavily implied to be Ariana Grande, as he staves off a lot of deeper temptation just for a moment of respite in a very blue world. But that added tension in the synth choices and a lack of firmer groove just doesn't let me embrace the vibe as deeply as I want to. Don't get me wrong, I get this song, I hear the appeal, but sorry, still isn't really clicking. Next up, number 36, Unaccommodating by Eminem featuring Yum M.A.
Look at how I'm behaving. They want me gone away. They want to John Benet me. I'm unaccommodating.
Serious question, did anyone outside of New York City care all that much when Young M.A. put out an album last year, especially as separated from her breakthrough single as it was? I don't mean to be crass here, but as someone who never really bought into her hype, to see the extended media attention enough to boost her profile so that Eminem gets on board, it's weird, especially if you're outside of a very specific hip-hop circle. But hey, she's handling the first verse, and well, it's fine enough. For M to go off on other tracks about rappers who are not on beat when Young M.A.'s flow is as clunky as it is, very telling. But outside of an okay trap groove, then Eminem comes in with vocals that are not mastered as clearly as Young M.A.'s, with cringy puns, ableist slurs, hideous auto-tuned ad-libs, and one of the worst blowjob references since Whistle. Honestly, even if he is self-aware about the corniness, all that bothers me so much more than the goddamn terrorism references that bookend each verse and are trying to be controversial, and it's just a lot less enjoyable. But believe it or not, it gets worse, cause next up is number 31, Those Kinda Nights by Eminem featuring Ed Sheeran.
Smoke, drink, dance until the sunrise. It's one of those kind of nights.
I'm willing to circulate a petition to get Eminem to stop mastering his own vocals, stop rapping about his previous projects, and stop making awful romance songs with Skylar Grey and Ed Sheeran, cause wow, this is a turd. Why are you trying to take this back to the D12 days of sexually harassing strippers, cringy dad jokes, hooking up with a girl who's bisexual, and then stringing way too many bad punchlines to ride off it, with a turd on top being the marshmallow line? Although given how tinny Ed Sheeran's vocals sound in this Weekend impression, you gotta wonder if Marshmallow might even help master this damn thing. And again, I'm not scandalized by this so much as it's just repetitive. Eminem's done this too many times before and done it better, and even layered over a trap beat, it's got this ugly feel that if Pistol Dave from the song of the same name from Epic Beerman and Slug was doing this unironically with zero subtext. In other words, considerably worse. So no, this is awful by all accounts. One of the worst in the album too. Next, number 28, Darkness by Eminem.
I don't wanna be alone in the darkness. I don't wanna be alone in the darkness.
So let me give M some credit here for a second. This is easily the most ambitious song on the album, with its interweaving narratives juxtaposing a hotel overdose and the Las Vegas mass shooter incident against a pretty inspired flip of The Sound of Silence. Eminem sounds focused, the build-up is effective. It's the sort of song that I'm honestly surprised Eminem doesn't try to make more often in his middle age. I think his fans would get on board if he tried. But I described my problem with this when I reviewed the album, and it comes with how disingenuous the ending feels, when it's described that nobody really knows why these destructive atrocities take place. And you know what, even giving M the benefit of the doubt here in how his own artifice never really quite mirrored the reality, I gotta call bullshit. We've seen manifestos, we've seen this sort of toxic ideology leak back towards the mainstream, and if there's someone who should get that murderous or self-destructive context and parallel among white guys, M, it's you! It feels like a cheap excuse and a slap in the face to his own damn legacy and insight to try and memory hole that implication now, but for an album that's running away from broader accountability as a whole, It's not surprising. Leaves the song really damn hollow, though. Let's move on. Number 16, What a Man Gotta Do by Jonas Brothers.
To be totally locked up by you.
So let me say this. It was a pleasant surprise to see the Jonas Brothers pretty much ditch any further single rollout from Happiness Begins, with this dropping without any warning and appearing to have a little bit more of a budget thanks to connecting with Ryan Tedder, who's going to try and give this acoustic, choppy-driven cut some groove and some propulsive swell. Hell, if I'm being honest, in comparison with every other single the Jonas Brothers have dropped in there since their comeback, this might be the one that drills into the bouncy, Disney-adjacent nostalgia in its composition the most, and actually kind of winds up being pretty fun, even if you can tell that the programmed percussion and groove is stiffer than it should be, and the lyrics are clearly thrown out in a half hour for his flagrant retread of everything that happened on Sucker. I really do wish they'd given some of the guitars some sizzle instead of relying on the horn presets, but you know what, for this sort of disposable pop, it's fine, maybe even catchy enough to have some staying power, but the Jonas Brothers doing a choppy George Michael imitation doesn't impress me all that much, and I really like them to discover a actual melodic tune that can be carried in the instrumentation at some point. You know, just saying. And finally, number 3, Godzilla by Eminem featuring Juice WRLD.
When the moon shines like ice road truckers, I look like a villain out of those blockbusters.
So did you all know that Eminem apparently broke a Guinness World Record for the number of words and syllables he crammed into the final verse of the song? Here's my response. To paraphrase the Radical Douche, this only really impresses folks who think a book is good because it had lots of pages. Because if you're not saying much of anything with those words, I don't care. And that's a big problem with Godzilla as a whole. Aside from a blubbery low synth that kind of reminded me of Star by Brockhampton, but nowhere near as charming thanks to all the squeaky tones around it, and a hook from the late Juice WRLD that really kind of deserved a better recording for as weak as it sounds. The rest of the song is just braggadocious verbal masturbation that gets even worse by how infernally convinced that his bars, they're not faintly embarrassing. The third verse with the prostate exam line, the cheesecake pun, like a liar's pants, I'm on fire, I got them passing out like what you do when you hand someone flyers, how he starts going offbeat for no reason at that speed as he calls himself an inflatable. The most telling line for me, how he calls himself and compares himself to Attila. And I just laugh because, you know, he's talking about Attila the Hun, but if we want a band that's the definition of oversold cringe masquerading as immature provocation, especially these days, it is Attila. I mean, telling on another song that is not close to good. And yeah, that's our week. Not a lot of quality to work with here, but Mac Miller will clinch the honorable mention with hand-me-downs, leaving Jhene Aiko to easily snag the best with Pussy Fairy. Yeah, I don't care. Song works for me. Now for the worst, you know what, I will say this. I thought those kind of nights with Ed Sheeran would have this on lock, but then I remembered Marsh as being thoroughly unlistenable in every way, so it's getting worse the week with those kind of nights as dishonorable mention. Next week, the fallout from all this. I expect it's going to be messier than you'd think. Till then, I'm Mark. You're watching Billboard Breakdown, affiliated with Spectrum Pulse. And I'll see you next time.